Hello and good morning, Badger Brothers. Welcome to a serious Monday because we have some fun stuff to get into. We got a lot of interesting news, a lot of what ifs, but more specifically, Hegseth is a legend, and we're going to explain why the beards being pulled off is so important to getting out the evil that's in the military. Portland and Chiraq. Did you know troops are being deployed right now? Yeah, by the time you are hearing this, you're just now finding out that Chiraq has National Guard troops on the ground in Chicago. Why is this important? Why is this happening? And I'm going to refresh your memory a little bit. Why are they doing this? What are they really after? Number one, they hate you. They're trying to replace you, and they want to control you. So let's break it down for you. Let's dig in. All right. Nobody's seeing the bigger picture about this with Hegseth, and this is magnificent. Hegseth is an absolute legend. Right here, per his directive, I am directing the Undersecretary of Defense for Personnel and Readiness to gather existing standards set by the military departments pertaining to physical fitness, body composition, and grooming, which includes but is not limited to beards. Now, why is this important? What religion requires you to grow a beard? If you're in the orthodoxy, if you are serious about that religion, you have to grow a beard. You have to, go jihad. You have to kill everybody that doesn't believe in Islam. You have to just destroy the non-believers. Bueller. Oh yeah, Islam. This is going to get out all of the crazy Muslims in the military. This is fantastic. This is brilliant because you cannot discriminate on religion. But if you can find something that they absolutely cannot do without, for example, if you are a radical Islamist and you are in the military, you will have a beard. But if you refuse to shave it because it's part of your religion, well, now we've got an excuse to excuse you. Sounds fantastic. Either shave your beard or get out of the military. Well done, Hegseth. Well done. I see what you did there. Well done. Now, getting into, first off, Portland, Oregon. There's stuff going on in Portland that are related to Chiraq. So first, let's break down what is exactly happening in Portland. Portland, we've got Bob Day. Bob Day is this demon right here that is running Portland, Oregon PD. He is the worst type of sorts. He replaced some DEI woke hire that was there previously. Let's go into a little bit of his background. This is from Andy Knows reporting. Fantastic guy he was the guy that's been doing reporting on Antifa before Antifa was a thing. After retiring as deputy chief in 2019, Day launched a DEI consulting firm called Reluctant Change. How nice. He created his own business to work directly with the woke group within Portland because that's how you win. He ran the business for years before returning to lead the Portland PD. Is your organization wrestling 21st century challenges from hiring and retention to understanding DEI or the next generation employees and customers? His website asks. This was a red flag, but I gave him a chance. It all goes downhill from here, folks. Then came January 2025, just days after Trump's inauguration. Day released a video apologizing to an armed BLM Antifa group involved in a deadly 2022 shooting. In September of 2023, retired Portland police officer Robert Day was tapped by Mayor Police Commissioner Ted Wheeler to lead the Portland Police Bureau after DEI Chuck Lovell, a black, abruptly demoted himself. It was the latest chapter in a turbulent era for the Bureau. They've gone through multiple heads of the police department in Portland. Andy had a very lengthy report on this. I'm trimming it down to get through it as quickly as possible. So essentially, he came in after the shooting. He made an apology for the shooting that he was not over. And this is the shooting. The Normandale Park shooting, February 19th, 2022, large group of armed Antifa militants occupied streets around the park for a direct action supporting Patrick Kimmons, a black gunman killed by the PPB officers in 2018. 2019. After shooting 2 people, Kimmons' mother organized regular armed occupations under the banner of Justice for Patrick Kimmons. Sounds like a sweet lady. I wonder why her son was involved in crime. In May 2021, a driver was beaten and robbed of his firearm by the group in broad daylight. They also smashed his vehicle. The PPB never arrested anyone, even after Andy identified suspects from their own bolos. Day praised the Antifa gunman who shot Smith and referred to the armed occupiers who terrorized neighborhoods as peaceful traffic safety volunteers. They had no legal authority to block traffic or to direct where drivers could go or not go. Fast forward to this year, September. Press conference responding to the president's decision to surge federal resources to Portland. Day downplayed the nightly, folks, Antifa violence outside the ICE facility, claiming it was confined to one city block and the PPB didn't need federal help. This was a bold lie. Not only that, the zoning officials of Portland have cited the federal ICE building for infractions because they boarded up their windows and doors to protect them from the violence that PPB will not stop. PPB hadn't made a single arrest since June, even as nightly violence terrorized residents for months. Discovery evidence in a lawsuit by a nearby resident later showed that PPB officers were well aware Antifa had locked people inside the ICE facility and tried to burn it down, but the police argued successfully that they had no legal obligation to respond to that or to the loud noises amplified all night by the rioters. It's wonderful when you have a job to protect and serve that you don't really have to do it. They all should be fired. August 3rd, so this gets into additional crime that's going on where no action is being taken by the PPB. August 3rd, Shelley Bonifaire, a local citizen journalist, was punched to the ground by an Antifa militant who was promptly assisted by a group of Antifa co-conspirators who ushered her to a car owned by John Hacker, a man who attacked me, Andy No, in 2019 and escaped justice. PPB has still made no arrest. This is another attack, again on journalists, and this is important. September 20th, Beaufort was violently attacked again by an Antifa man who tried to rob her of a recording mobile device. He then doused her and my colleague Katie Daviscourt with bear mace. Both women went to the hospital for treatment. No arrest. September 30th, Daviscourt bashed in the eye with a heavy pole by a masked rioter outside the ICE facility following months of threats. She begged so he saw it, a PPB officer to act. He refused to detain or arrest the fleeing suspect who calmly disappeared into the safe house. And finally, we get to the latest. Oregon reported that there was a stand-down order for the officers assigned to outside the ICE the night Katie was assaulted. Again, back to my video on Antifa, this has been going on for years because Antifa is being funded by outside sources. Our own NGOs, USAID, and others, probably Soros, are funding to allow Antifa to then sue local municipalities every time they get arrested. So it basically cash straps the local the police departments and the municipalities with frivolous lawsuits to drain them of resources. So they have had a standing order to not mess with Antifa since at least 2015. They aren't authorized to take enforcement action, the police said, regarding why Katie's assailant was let go. And now we get to just a few days ago. For those that know Nick Sorter, he was out there in Portland basically pointing out, and if you're out there and you see him, look him up. There was an awesome shot where Antifa were antagonizing him, threatening him, and the Antifa guy had a laser pointed on his chest, and Nick's like, dude, you've got like a sniper on you, like pointing a laser at you. I'd leave me alone right now before you get dropped. Who knows what that laser was, but that would make anybody, drop a deuce in their pants. October 2nd, conservative DC-based influencer Nick Sortor was arrested by PPB after being violently confronted by a far-left extremist outside ICE. Again, he was there reporting on what was happening to the ICE facility night after night that the PPB was allowing to happen. Why is this important, Mouthy? Why are you doing this? Because this is why it's important. The president can initiate the National Guard under 3 critical guises. 1, governor authorization. Like the Missouri governor has just authorized Trump to send in the National Guard in Missouri. Okay. We saw that in, I believe it was, what was the other one? Tennessee. Of course, D.C. is federal, so they're allowed to go into D.C. no matter what. In L.A., you had an insurrection. You had people and lawlessness taking place in L.A. with people flying the Mexican flag, literally taking over territory. And then finally, which is what's going on in Portland, is just straight up lawlessness, where you do not have any sort of semblance of law and order. That is the final one that Trump can utilize, and that's the most difficult to prove. And that is why the PPB is arresting journalists and not prosecuting or attacking any of the Antifa that are preying upon people. Because if they do, that shows that their own inept incompetence would then allow Trump to go in there and actually set things straight. That is why Nick was arrested. That is why nothing's getting reported. That is why they're allowing violence to perpetuate on the journalist in Portland reporting on Antifa riots. Because it basically shows their incompetence, which gives a precursor to allow Trump to send in the National Guard. Having all that been said, here's an interesting note. ICE is currently operating very heavily in Chicago. That's creating a lot of angst. You're seeing a lot of protests, and Trump has just now authorized, as of right now, as of the 6th, technically late on the 5th, yesterday, ICE is getting backup from the National Guard. I believe it's like 400 National Guard has been deployed. Chicago. So you can see here they're trying to effecate ICE deportations, and you've got a whole group of protesters trying to stop their operation. Man, light those boys up. Get some rubber bullets, pump them for them, get some bean bags up on those people. That's what they need to be doing. So this is what ICE is dealing with. And that's the key, guys. That's why Trump wants to send in the National Guard and the military. Is if he can get the National Guard in there, they're going to be able to do what they did in D.C. and be able to create a facilitation of the deportations. So ICE goes out, does the arrest because they have the authority, and then the National Guard acts as logistics. That's how they were to shut down all the criminality in D.C. National Guard, logistics. That's how it works. It's brilliant because you can't actually have the National Guard going in there and doing the arrests. That's not feasible. That's not what they're trained to do. That's not what they're authorized to do. But the National Guard can do logistics, which frees up every able-bodied man in ICE to make arrests and get the deportations going. That's brilliant. Pritzker's made a lot of dumb statements, basically calling Trump out. The usual. It's just ridiculous. He's just been going on and on. I mean, look at this. He doesn't even know that with his little stupid check mark, he can make a long post. Instead, he's just going over and over again. We're not going to waste time on him. Here's the latest one where he is screaming right now because, again, the National Guard has now been authorized to be deployed in Illinois. He's just going nuts. Whatever. All right, let's move on now to why this is important. Because, again, got to sink it into your heads. They hate you guys. They hate us. Jay Jones running for Attorney General of Virginia with Abigail Spanberger for governor. They're the Democrats that are trying to take over Virginia and take it back from red. I sure hope they fail. Why? Because this is what this man is posting online.
News from the campaign trail.
Jay Jones is under fire tonight.
Jay Jones is under fire.
Jay Jones is under fire after messages he sent in 2022 saying former Virginia House Speaker Todd Gilbert should be shot.
I'm excited about this ticket.
It's been great to be out on the campaign trail with Jay Jones.
You said Gilbert's wife could watch her own child die in her arms so that Gilbert might reconsider his political views.
We deserve an attorney general who will stand up for the people of Virginia.
Jones said, quote, Gilbert, Hitler, and Pol Pot. Gilbert gets 2 bullets to the head.
Let your rage fuel you.
Jones doubled down, saying, quote, do I think Todd and Jennifer are evil and that they're breeding little fascists? Yes.
How can Virginians trust a man who said something so horrific, so callously?
Only when people feel pain personally do they move on policy.
Does that wake you up enough, people? Is that making your blood boil a little bit? Because it should. Because that's who's going to be representing the left. And I just want to say fantastic. Winsome Earl Sears, that's who's the Republican that's running on the Republican side. I sure hope she wins. Oh my goodness. That is just absolutely scary. I do want to point out for Abigail here, this is fantastic. This is a wonderful meme. The only thing between the United States and its first black female governor is a liberal white woman who preaches the importance of DEI. Beautiful. Just beautiful. Right now, as it stands, there have been crickets from the DNC. The DNC has done absolutely nothing to condemn these violent texts from Jay Jones. Has not asked him to drop out. The governor, the Democratic governor that's running, or the Democratic candidate for governor that's running, has not condemned his text. They haven't. You've had some pundits on CNN and MSNBC, they've come out, oh yeah, we need to condemn all violence, but no mainstream Democrat has come out and said, this is wrong. Jay Jones does not have the temperament to be in public office. The Washington Post, the left-wing Washington Post has even come out and said, hey, Jay Jones, you probably don't have the temperament to be in public office. Washington Post even said that. All right. And they said, I was crazy. I don't want my thermostat to communicate out to the energy company. I don't want the energy company to communicate with anything within my house. I don't want IoT devices, Internet of Things devices in my home. Why? Because of this right here. Ohio has introduced a new bill that would allow utility companies to automatically adjust customer thermostats in order to reduce load on the power grid during periods of high demand. I hate to break it to the Ohioans, it's not just Ohio. California, New York, Colorado, they're all doing it. They're all these states are coming forward and they want to control whether or not you're hot or cold and decide when to cut yours off. Maybe, you tweeted the wrong thing today, or you sent the money to the wrong political party that's not in power. All of a sudden, we're going to have to cut off your AC, or in the wintertime, we're going to have to cut off your heat. Sounds like fun to me. And finally, with all that bad news, I want to give you a little bit of a silver lining. Shutdown is still ongoing, so we've got $26.4 billion saved and counting. Mouthy out.